Welcome to all sins and commandments alike. This is Griever, your guys' host as always, bringing you guys episode 7 of Dragon's Judgment. 7 Deadly Sins, also known as the Natsuno Taizai's latest episode. This review will probably be a day or two late, sorry about that. But anyways, let's get on to the big picture here. The big picture. This was a good episode. I liked this episode. The animation was good enough for me. I mean, of course, you know what? At this point, it's not even tolerable, it's just average. There's some good shots, there's some mess shots, and overall, it's pretty good. It's decent enough. So I'm going to stop, unless we get a really abysmal one, or we get a really great one, I think I'm going to stop mentioning the animation at this point, because I think we're starting to see some of the consistency here. It's never going to be One Punch Man Attack on Titan level, Demon Slayer level, right? But it's not going to be up to that standard at this point, but it's also not abysmal. So, you know, we're just going to have to take what we can get. But the things I liked about this episode. Number one, let's start off with the end part. I want to talk about the end for a second here, which I know is a weird out of order thing, but just bear with me for a second, guys, because there's a few things that I don't want to clear up because it could just be the subtitles, but there's just something I sort of want to talk about. And that's this idea of, it's a bit of a theory of mine, about Chandler and Cusack and their fusion, their transformation that is taking place here at the end of the episode. It's, once again, it's not the subtitles, but I came across a bit of an idea that might work. I might have to go check the manga, but without spoiling anything, is it possible that because of Gother's alternate reality that they were all living in, I'm trying to rack my brain onto how exactly that's supposed to affect these two, but because this always bothered me, because right here we're starting to notice the breakdown of power scaling, right? The power scaling from this point on is going to be crap, because this is where it all started to go downhill. They slowly, after we hit the milestone of power leveling 200,000 magic power, after that it was all downhill from there. They started abandoning the power level system at this point, and the numbers were crazy high, but they became more irrelevant than ever, and then they just abandoned them all entirely. So, it's Dragon Ball Z 101, right? So, with this is, with the alternate reality thing, because it always seemed out of place, not just with the power scaling, with the new, you know, the super awesome, you know, Elva's King versus the Four Commandments male and all that stuff, and then, you know, with Cusack and Chandler having 150, 180, 197,000, whatever it was like 187 and 192 or whatever it was. So, not just with that, but could the altered memories have somehow prevented, because it always bothered me that they just randomly decided at this point, when they're clearly at an advantage. Escanor is currently only in he's not at full strength anymore. Noontime has passed. His power is slowly going to go down. Not only that, it's probably, I've always summarized this as it's not even 70, it's probably only at 70%. This is reserve Escanor with Rita. It's only the sun amount stored in Rita that is maintaining his form right now. Not only is Black Knight in effect, so he's probably going through that reserve that, like, if it was a magical bar, he's probably depleting that really fast. So he's nowhere near at full strength. Merlin might be there, but they broke out of her Pokemon typing level attack. And, like, just overall here, and Ludashell is down. So right now is the perfect opportunity for them to continue this advantage. Yet for some reason, they decide to transform into this first demon that we don't get to see yet. The first demon. He was called something a little more badass, you know, in the manga, but whatever. So this first demon, right? And he is, but why did they decide to transform? It always bothered me. But now where the pacing is so much different this time with the anime, and that's why I wanted to bring this up before I forgot to talk about this, was with the anime pacing, things are starting to fall into place chronologically far better. And for that reason, right now I'm starting to see, okay, Well, they decided to do this right after they recovered from Merlin's attack and from the memory boom, the craziness that happened. And they're at an all-time advantage, and it's only now they decided to transform. I'm trying to think if there was a better reason in the manga, but for some reason, could this believing that Estarossa existed sort of screwed up their original mission given to them by the Demon King and their own memories? Because it screws everything up. The first demon, as we found out at the end of the episode, was split into two, and their punishment after, betraying, after pulling a Lucifer, was to mentor the two princes into rising them up to one day take the seat of the Demon King. The fact that they introduced a middle child without a third mentor, did that somehow screw it up? I know that's a little bit of weak sauce there. That's not exactly holding much water as far as a theory, but it at least to me makes more sense than, okay, now that we're at an advantage, we're just going to transform. We've never needed to do this for the last millennia. But I think now's the time. I think I'm feeling it. Now's the time to do this. It just didn't make sense. It was just sort of like for the wow factor. I'm just trying to figure it out, but let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. Don't want this review to be 20 minutes, but that's the basis of my theory. I know there's some holes in it. I know it's not very strong, but it at least would explain away as to why they would do it right now of all times. But anyways, so that's the end part of the episode, right? Everyone's going through their things. Meliodas, Bond, and Wild and the Demon King Purgatory and stuff, and all that stuff's going on, and yada, yada, yada. So, but the main thing to take away from this one, King, Harley Quinn, looks like an absolute badass, does he not? He can pull off multiple forms of spirit form chastful, and though I hate at this point the power scaling, this is where we had hints of it in the Battle of Six, with Merlin and stuff, and here is where it just starts to really taper off. It's just like, okay, everything's just getting too crazy. But nonetheless, it's still badass, especially for King fans. Now, I don't dislike King, but I'm not a King stan. But this was definitely good. I always found it, the writing around his transformation was well paced at first, and then this was just sort of a, let's jump from Charmander to Mega Charizard X, and it's like, whoa, this ain't Digimon. You can't warp Digivolve, King, because it seemed like he was making general progressions throughout the story, and then all of a sudden now he's dwarfing everybody. So it's a little nuts in that regard, but other than that, I love the fact that he can use multiple forms at the same time of the Spirit Spear. He's like overpowering Mael. He's got all his abilities, and it was really cool to see him in color and in action and stuff, right? But the better thing to take away, there are two things. Number one, the anime handled something that I had questioned far more in the manga. I don't know why. Once again, I really should have reread this volume before seeing this episode, because we had two great things. We had Naja and Gother. Now remember that I forget which one it was. It was the essence, the incense of silence, or what? No, it wasn't the incense of silence that did it. It was the incense. It was the bell of. Anyways, whichever one it was wasn't the commandment of love, and it wasn't our charity, and it wasn't the commandment of silence. It was one of the other commandments, the commandment of truth, maybe. I forget which one it was, or purity. But Naja is summoned in this way, into a sort of a false memory stuff for Gother, and that's where Gother's been for most of the episode, comatose from the last episode, where Naja is there in his memories, and he's confused. Is it this an illusion? Is it real? Or if it's not real, is it really, have I been taken to a third? There's multiple options. And he goes through the options, you're either an illusion, made by the commandment, I'm dreaming, in which case is still not good, or there's a third option that there's some crazy, stuff going on. So I always assumed, and I still think I'm right here, is that Naja here, because the way she's acting and the way she's talking, which is very venomous, and it does come across here this way as well, in the anime, is that this was caused by the commandment. Sort of to weigh him down. It's another form of attack. This time it's an emotional attack. It's a mental attack, right? That's all it is. And I still hold true to that theory that this is a mental attack from the commandment. However, the one thing I couldn't understand was why, if that were the case, it doesn't make sense for after Gother sort of breaks through the spell by realizing, hey, that's fantastic. I would never regret falling in love with you, and all that stuff. Like, I loved every moment we spent together, and you're the only girl in my heart, and you've always been there, and you always will be there, dead or alive. It doesn't matter. I always hold you close to my heart, which is a great thing because the 7 Deadly Sins are all about that. Have you noticed that? Like, sort of, we're not going to get into spoiler, people, but if you notice, Deanne, the amnesia queen of anime, has always been in love with King. You have Meliodas and Elizabeth going through reincarnation and all that stuff. You got Bond with Elaine dead for God knows how long. And now you have Gother, who went to the depths of despair and sort of locked away his emotions in his heart. Finally got them back and realized it was all, like, at the end of the day, he's still totally in love with Nadja. So it's a very common theme running through all of the Sins backstories for the most part here. And the great thing here is that I finally believe that even though this was the commandment, because he broke out of, that's what he had to do to break out of the spell. It's like, I will never let you go. And wallow in despair, wallow in this, wallow in that, wallow in regret that, you took my innocence, you took my heart, and now they will be the chains to hold you down. And that had the opposite effect, and Gother found a way out of that and broke free of that. And when that could never weigh me down because I love that. I'm so happy to hear that sort of idea, right? This shocked the spell version of Nadja, and this is the difference that I like, and I forget once again if it was as clear in the manga, but Gother then hugs Nadja and breaks through the spell because this Nadja illusion, this commandment one, is shocked, and then we don't see Nadja, the commandment illusion, say this. We just hear her say, "Thank you, Gother." Now, I like to be a bit of a sap and a bit of a romantic about this. I like to think that this was still caused by the commandment, an illusion, whatever you want to call it, a spell caused by the commandment, and that's what he was seeing. That's what Nadja was. But where we've seen souls and the necropolis and reincarnation and everything, I like to think that that was a spell, but the thank you Gother line at the end when he breaks through and says all the nice words to the illusion Nadja, that's the real Nadja's soul or spirit or whatever you want to call it. Listening in, thank you, Gother. I'm just a sap, but here in the anime, it was done very well. The music was on point. It was a slow-paced scene. I really, really liked it. So that part was really, yeah, right? And then the second part, of course, was Mael. With Gother finally, after King kicks the shit out of the commandments, Mael, Gother wakes up from the spell with Nadja, goes into the, tries again, gets into Mael's memory. Now, this scene was done very well, and I'm not upset about the, where they show, because this wasn't shown in the manga, where he actually does break out sort of idea. They don't really show that. It's left a little more ambiguous, but it doesn't matter because by the end of the episode we know anyway, so you're not really spoiling. It's not like, oh, wait till next episode, did Mael banish the commandments or not? It's like, no, it's happening in the middle of the episode, so it's fine. I don't mind that. I love that they didn't change much from this. They did not change much from this scene, because the scene with Mael was very crucial, and I really like, and the beautiful piano at the end of the scene. We'll get to that. That'll be the last part I'll talk about, because this is going to run 25 minutes if I don't speed this up. So, but I really just like this episode. All the content in this episode was so much better than the last episode, in my opinion. I just really, really enjoyed this, because these are some of my favorite scenes, because they're emotional and they mean more to us as fans and people who went through, So with Mael, this bothered a lot of fans, and now it's been explained. And Mael asked this question at the beginning: why me? Why me? It's unfair. I didn't do anything to deserve this. Why me? And the way it was handled here was beautiful, because Gother meets him in the field, and the commandments have a manifestation and stuff, and I wish they had done way more with that. But that's the manga's problem. And he talks about it, and once again, he says, I want you to live, blah, 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 and he's not getting anywhere with this Mael, who's willing to die and thinks he's a sinner and all this stuff now, and which he is, but he doesn't realize he was a sinner long before now, or in a way, and instead of that wallowing him further into despair, he now starts to own up to his actions, sort of idea, which is good, because here's where Gother, once again, is like, why me? Why me? And asked the question that the fan base was asked. It said, you said that you switched me from Mile to Estarossa because Meliodas left the demons and you needed to balance it out. So yeah, sure, that worked with me. But why me? It's not fair. Why me? Because there were other warriors. There was Elizabeth. There was Ludoshel. He mentions at least two. I argue that there's probably only a couple. He said plenty, but there's like three. But three people on his level sort of idea. But there were others. Elizabeth and Ludoshel are every bit Miles equal. So why me? You had to make a choice. It's not like I was the number one. There were others in my tier, so why did you pick me? And then Gother does this in a very calm way and says, you need to recognize it wasn't me, it was my creator being. Look at my face. These are your memories, we're in your mind, so concentrate on my face and think back. And then he realizes that when he was under this delusion that Ludoshel had fed him, Ludoshel's evil as fuck, don't care. But when he was under this delusion that he was freeing these demons, that he was slaughtering these citizens, these innocents that he was slaughtering from the demons left, right, and center, he remembers back to a woman that he slaughtered. A woman that happened to be the wheelchair Gother's lover. And Gother explains all this and stuff. And I love what they do here. I forget, once again, I really should have reread the chapter, but I feel like with the sound and the music, it's so much more powerful, where he's going back through his memories of when he first woke up. Why me? It's not fair. You could have chosen. I don't understand. I'm why would you corrupt me like this? Why would you do this to me? Now it's all coming full circle. It's like no one would understand me, but wait a minute now. You caused wheelchair Gother unbelievable pain. He tried to separate himself from that, but by ending the Holy War altogether, but still when it came to picking who's going to suffer, he still had that little bit of vengeance, that little bit of revenge that even Gother, being very logical and very, it's still, and that's why. And now Mile has accepted that as a sin. He's accepted that burden, and he gets the command. Like, it was just handled so well. Because we think, okay, Mile is innocent. Like, yeah, wheelchair Gother's plan is good, and I really wish it was elaborated more and stuff. Like, why is he under Leonos? Anyways, but the point is that, like, some of this stuff didn't really add up, but now it finally all makes sense. And it doesn't feel like it was an ass pull anywhere. It actually flows and works with the rest of the story. This is why the doll was created. This is why the doll was created with a woman's face, and Gother looks and sort of acts feminine, and he's just a doll, but he's got a feminine face, but a male's body, because Gother, the wheelchair Gother, didn't want to feel like there's just, it ties up the whole story, and it's just handled really well here. And then the piano with this spell that makes no goddamn sense, I don't care, but the piano that's playing while Mile regrets killing Oslo and Dedi Eddie, and they're there on the ground, and you have the piano sort of playing, sort of reminding me of some old, like, late 90s, early 2000s, like, piano OSTs, and a lot of the, like, in Ririona Kenshin, and Inuyasha, Vision of Escaflowne, even like Gundams and stuff like that, right? Like that, just that very, like, it's supposed to be sad but triumphant sort of way music, the piano, the violin sort of idea. Really, really nice when he's saying that he's going to let he's use the spell to make sure they reincarnate, but with their memories intact. So I was like, reincarnation's a big thing, and I don't think goddesses go around reincarnating everybody, so you don't need to reincarnate. And then I forgot, and then the subtitle did say, with their past lives intact, so that Mael himself, after wrongfully killing these two, if they feel like punishing him, he'll accept it, because he's got to end this cycle of violence. As King pointed out at the beginning of the fight, we need to end this cycle of violence. I don't want to kill you, I want to save you. Gother, same idea. I don't want to kill you, I want to save you, Mael. This is what we need to do. They ask him to join with their battle at Camelot, and now they're on their way to Camelot to help out the Battle of the Six. So that is the this is going to be a long review, but there was a lot to cover. I had a lot of thoughts, a lot of theories about this episode, and I'm really sorry that this is like going to be the latest of all so far 7 episode reviews. This one's going to be the latest one coming out, and I'm really, really, really sorry about that, guys. But I just really liked this episode. I wanted to make sure to get this review out, though, as fast as I could. In all honesty, I don't really have time for this. I thought I might have to push it till next week, but hopefully this one comes out by the weekend anyways, or maybe late next week, or late this week. We'll see. But anyways, I really thought this episode was great. I hope you guys did too. And maybe my review helped you see things much better if you didn't like the episode so much, and I hope for that too. So anyways, like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Don't forget, we are getting to 500 subscribers in the month of March. Not 300, not 400, but 500 subscribers in the month of March. You guys know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, all that stuff, and then my 500 subscriber milestone video will be out in the first week of April if we hit that goal. So that'll be really exciting. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you for episode 8. Bye-bye.